Hiya, my name's Nikki Carey and this podcast is part of an assessment method for the qualifications module at Bangor University. It will focus on the basics of belaying and the setups and techniques that are most applicable for different types of groups and venues. This video is aimed at novice climbers wishing to learn the basics of belaying and also individuals working towards their SPA assessment or training. In this case, it will help them choose which setup is best for different situations. Belaying is defined as the process of safeguarding a climber using a rope and friction to hold the climber's weight should they fall off. There are two main methods of belaying. The first is known as bottom roping. This is where the belayer is situated at the bottom of the wall or crag. The climber ascends to a point before being lowered back down to the ground. The second is called top roping. The belayer is situated at the top of a crag, securely attached to anchors. They then take in the slack that is created as the climber climbs. The most common way of belaying a climber is using a friction device, otherwise known as a belay plate. There are a variety of standard devices as seen here. However, they all work on the same principle of creating friction. They do this by putting more bends in the rope. For example, when the device is open like this, there is only one bend and therefore minimal friction, allowing the rope to slide. However, when the device is locked, there are 3 bends, creating far more friction and stopping any rope slippage. To thread the belay device, a bite is made in the rope, which is then pushed through one of the 2 holes on the belay plate. A carabiner is attached to both the rope loop and the belay plate. The carabiner is then screwed up. When doing this, ensure that the rope attached to the climber is closest to you and the other end is furthest away. This part of the rope is known as the dead rope. You must keep a hand on this dead rope at all times. As the climber ascends, slack will develop in the system. This slack is taken in using a pattern of hand movements. We start as making a V, to the knee, 1, 2, 3. And again, make a V, so taking in the slack, to the knee, locking off the device, and 1, 2, 3. So we're ready to go again. So this is our starting position. We make a V, so we pull the slack through the device, bring our hand down towards our knee to lock the device, swap the first hand, swap the second hand, and then get ready to do it all over again. In summary, the climber close, one hand on the dead rope at all times, and make a V, to the knee, 1, 2, 3. Bell ringing is another setup that can be used whilst bottom roping. The belayer is attached to the rope using an Italian hitch, and their job is to pull down on the live rope whilst one or more belayers pull out on the dead rope. This is an ideal method to use when working with groups of novices, as it is far simpler to master than standard belaying. It also has the benefit of involving more people, reducing the chances of boredom during a session. To set up bell ringing, an Italian hitch is tied, attached to a carabiner, and then attached to the belayer's harness. simplest way to tie an Italian hitch is to make 2 loops in the rope. So, 1, 2. These 2 ropes are then closed like a book, and both loops are clipped in to a carabiner. The final method of belaying that will be covered is top roping. As discussed previously, this is where the belayer is situated at the top of a climb. It is usually adopted on single pitch routes and is used to bring up a second once the climb has been led. Once the lead climber has reached the top of the climb, they then need to attach to anchors. In this case, you can see that 1, 2, 3 anchors have been attached to. Taking in slack using this method is similar to when bottom roping. However, when locking off the dead rope, your hand needs to be high. So, whilst top roping, the sequence goes: make a V, lock, 1, 2, 3. Let's do that again. Make a V, lock, 1, 2, 3. So, in summary, we have covered the belay technique for bottom roping using a standard device, how to set up and operate the bell ringing method, and finally how to use a standard device when in a top rope situation. Please feel free to rewind this podcast should you feel the need to. I hope it has been both informative and enjoyable. And remember, the best way to become proficient at these skills is to go out and practice. It is recommended that you do so in pairs or a small group so that you can help each other. Finally, it is important to note that safety should always be paramount, and therefore the use of a professional instructor is still the safest way to learn these skills.